Hey everyone, and welcome to this tutorial where we're going to tackle a common algebra challenge, solving a quadratic equation. We'll be working through the problem you see on screen. 8n squared plus 4n minus 16 equals negative n squared. Our goal is to find the value or values of n that make this equation true. First things first, to use the quadratic formula, we need our equation in standard form. ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Right now, our equation isn't quite there because we have an n squared term on both sides. Let's fix that. We'll add n squared to both sides of the equation. This gives us 8n squared plus n squared plus 4n minus 16 equals 0, which simplifies to 9n squared plus 4n minus 16 equals 0. Now that it's in standard form, we can easily identify our coefficients. A is 9, B is 4, and C is negative 16. The quadratic formula is our trusty tool for these situations. N equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C over 2A. Let's plug in our values. N equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 9 times negative 16 divided by 2 times 9. Next, we simplify the expression inside the square root, which is called the discriminant. 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 times 9 times negative 16 is negative 36 times negative 16, which equals 576. So inside the square root, we have 16 plus 576, which is 592. Our equation now looks like this. N equals negative 4 plus or minus square root 592 over 18. Now let's simplify that square root, root 592. We need to look for perfect square factors of 592. We can divide 592 by 4, which gives us 148. So square root 592 equals the square root of 4 times 148 equals the square root of 4 times the square root of 148, which is 2 times root 148. We can simplify further. 148 divided by 4 is 37. So, square root 148 equals the square root of 4 times 37 equals the square root of 4 times the square root of 37, which is 2 times root 37. Therefore, square root 592 simplifies to 2 times 2 root 37, which is 4 root 37. Substituting this back into our formula, n equals negative 4 plus or minus 4 root 37 divided by 18. Finally, we can simplify the entire expression by dividing all terms in the numerator and the denominator by their greatest common divisor, which is 2. So, n equals negative 2 plus or minus 2 root 37 divided by 9. This gives us our two solutions for n. n1 equals negative 2 plus 2 times root 37 divided by 9, and n2 equals negative 2 minus 2 times root 37 divided by 9. And there you have it. We've successfully solved the quadratic equation using the quadratic formula and simplified the square root. Remember these steps and you'll be well equipped to tackle similar problems.
Break down how to simplify the square root of 592. It's a great example of how to systematically reduce a radical expression. We start with the square root of 592. The goal is to find perfect square factors within 592 that we can pull out of the square root. The number 4 is a perfect square, and it's often a good first number to check if the radicand is even. So let's divide 592 by 4. That gives us 148. This means the square root of 592 can be rewritten as the square root of 4 times 148. Because of the properties of square roots, we can separate this into the square root of 4 times the square root of 148. We know the square root of 4 is 2, so now we have 2 times the square root of 148. We're not done yet because 148 might still have perfect square factors. Let's try dividing by 4 again. 148 divided by 4 equals 37. So the square root of 148 can be expressed as the square root of 4 times 37. Again, we can split this into the square root of 4 times the square root of 37. The square root of 4 is 2, so this part becomes 2 times the square root of 37. Now let's put it all back together. We had 2 times the square root of 148, and we just found that the square root of 148 is 2 times the square root of 37. So we substitute that in, giving us 2 times 2 times the square root of 37. Multiplying the numbers outside the square root, 2 times 2 gives us 4, and 37 is a prime number, so it doesn't have any more perfect square factors to pull out. Therefore, the simplified form of the square root of 592 is 4 times the square root of 37. This method of repeatedly dividing by perfect squares, especially 4, is a very effective way to simplify square roots.